The first time I heard him say my name, it wasn't during practice, it wasn't in front of the team, it was at midnight, when no one was supposed to be in the gym. And God, the way he said it made me want to believe in things I had spent years convincing myself weren't real. Coach Adler was the kind of man who could silence a room just by walking into it. Cold, detached, with eyes that cut sharper than any insult. He wasn't cruel, but he was impossible. At least, to me. He avoided me like I was some kind of threat, and maybe I was, because every time he brushed past me, every time his voice dropped to a near whisper during drills, something inside me clenched like I was holding onto a secret too heavy to keep. I was 19, a sophomore at a small college in Illinois, still figuring out who the hell I was. Everyone else seemed to have their shit together, majors declared, internships lined up, girlfriends to parade around on weekends. Me? I had basketball, a dorm room that smelled like burnt ramen, and a growing obsession with a man I shouldn't even be thinking about. He wasn't much older, 26, maybe 27, but the distance between us felt like a canyon I'd never cross. He was my coach. He had authority, a reputation, a life I wasn't supposed to touch. And yet, the more he avoided me, the more I noticed every flicker in his eyes when they accidentally met mine. The way his jaw tightened when I laughed too loud. The way his hands trembled, almost imperceptibly, when he corrected my form on the court. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was just another kid with a crush, another cliché. But that night in the gym, the night he whispered my name, everything changed. The story doesn't start there, though. It starts weeks earlier, with me sitting on the bleachers after practice, drenched in sweat, tying and untying the same shoelace just to keep myself from watching him too openly. The guys were loud, tossing jokes, throwing towels at each other. But I kept stealing glances at the man leaning against the far wall, arms crossed, gaze unreadable. "Yo, Evan," one of my teammates yelled, breaking my trance. "Coach is staring you down, man. Did you piss him off?" I laughed it off, muttered something stupid. But deep down, I wondered if maybe that was true, maybe my very existence pissed him off. Or maybe it scared him. The tension only grew from there. Practices were brutal, the kind where your muscles scream and your lungs burn. He never singled me out, not in front of the others. But when we were alone, even for a second, when I stayed late to shoot, when he passed me in the hallway, there was a charge in the air, static before a storm. One night, I stayed longer than I should have. The gym was nearly empty, just the squeak of my sneakers echoing against the floor. I wanted to exhaust myself, to bury the ache that had nothing to do with my legs. When I finally stopped, I noticed him, Coach Adler, standing at the door, watching me. I froze. "You should be resting," he said, voice low, firm. "Could say the same to you." I shot back, my heartbeat reckless in my chest. His expression didn't change, but his eyes lingered on me, longer than they should have. That was the beginning of something neither of us could name. It built slowly, unbearably. He would correct my stance, his hand brushing my shoulder, and I'd feel it all the way down my spine. He would call my name during drills, and it sounded like a command and a plea all at once. And then there were moments, small, fleeting, where I swore he almost softened, where the mask cracked just enough for me to see the man underneath. But just as quickly, he would pull away. Always avoiding, always retreating. Like I was a fire he couldn't stop circling but was terrified of being consumed by. And then came that midnight. I had snuck into the gym again, restless and unable to sleep. The world outside was quiet, the kind of silence that makes you aware of your own heartbeat. I dribbled aimlessly, shot a few hoops, pretended I wasn't waiting for something I couldn't name. When I heard the door creak, I nearly dropped the ball. He walked in, hoodie pulled tight, jaw set like stone. He didn't say anything at first, just watched me from the shadows. The air was thick, charged. My throat was dry, but I forced myself to speak. Couldn't stay away either? I tried to joke, but my voice cracked. He stepped closer, and in the dim light, I saw something I had never seen before: fear. Not of me, but of himself. And then, barely audible, he whispered my name. Evan. It wasn't sharp, wasn't commanding. It was soft, trembling, like a confession. I swear the whole world stopped. My name on his lips didn't sound like discipline or anger. It sounded like surrender. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The basketball rolled across the floor, thudding softly against the wall. Forgotten. He stood there with his fists clenched inside his hoodie pocket, like holding himself together was the only way to keep from breaking. And May couldn't breathe, couldn't think. "Say it again," I whispered before I could stop myself. His eyes widened. Then, almost painfully, he shook his head. "I shouldn't be here. You shouldn't." His voice cracked, rough and raw. "Evan, you don't know what you're asking for." But I did. I had known for weeks, maybe months. Every stolen glance, every silence between us had built to this. I stepped closer until I could feel the heat radiating off him, until the air between us was charged enough to set me on fire. "I'm not asking for anything," I said, my voice trembling. "I just don't want to keep pretending anymore." His breath caught. He closed his eyes, like the truth hurt worse than any lie. "You think this is easy for me?" His words came fast now, desperate. "You think I don't notice you? Every damn day, I have to tell myself not to look too long, not to let myself." He cut off, shaking his head like the words themselves were dangerous. That was when I touched him. Just a hand on his arm, tentative, a question more than anything. His body tensed, but he didn't pull away. And then, in one swift motion, he caught my wrist, holding it like it was the only thing anchoring him to the ground. "I can't," he whispered, but his grip tightened, betraying him. "You already are," I murmured. Silence. Just the sound of our breathing, the hum of the lights overhead. Then he let go of my wrist only to cup the back of my neck, pulling me closer with a force that felt inevitable. His forehead pressed against mine, and for the first time his walls cracked wide open. When our lips finally met, it wasn't gentle. It was hungry, starved. All the words we hadn't dared to speak exploding into touch. My hands clung to his hoodie, his fingers dug into my hair, and the world collapsed into nothing but the taste of him, the weight of him. It didn't last long. He tore himself away, chest heaving, eyes wild. "This can't happen," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Then why did you come here?" I shot back. "Why did you say my name like it meant something?" He stared at me, caught between fear and longing. And then, finally, he broke. "Because it does." That confession hung in the air, fragile and powerful. I wanted to hold it, protect it, even as he tried to take it back with a shake of his head. The weeks that followed weren't simple. We danced on a razor's edge, between secrecy and revelation. He was colder than ever during practice, sharper with me than with anyone else, like distance could erase what had already been carved into us. But at night, those stolen hours in the empty gym or the quiet corners of campus was mine, and I was his. It was messy, painful, terrifying, but it was real. One night, after a brutal game that left us both exhausted, I found him sitting alone in the locker room, head in his hands. The team had gone. The air smelled of sweat and defeat, and he looked like a man carrying the weight of the world. "You don't have to do this alone," I told him. He looked up, eyes red-rimmed, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. "I've spent my whole life running from this," he admitted. "From who I am, from what I want." And then you walked in and his voice broke. "God, Evan, you scare the hell out of me." I knelt in front of him, took his hands in mine. "Then let me be the one thing you don't have to run from." He searched my face like he was trying to find a reason to push me away. Instead, he leaned forward and kissed me again, softer this time, trembling with relief. That was the night everything shifted. We stopped hiding from ourselves, even if we still had to hide from the world. Slowly, carefully, we built something that felt like home in the spaces between fear and hope. There were setbacks, moments when his walls rose back up, when doubt crept in, but each time, I was there to remind him. Each time, he whispered my name like a promise. And when the season ended, when the team gathered for one last practice, I caught his gaze across the court. For once, he didn't look away. He let the whole room disappear as his eyes locked on mine, steady, unafraid. Later that night, In the quiet glow of the gym, he pulled me close, no hesitation, no retreat. "You were the one thing I never expected," he said softly, "and the only thing I can't let go." I smiled, tears burning my eyes. "Good, because I don't plan on letting you go either." The man who had spent months avoiding meth coach who built walls higher than anyone could climb was now the one holding me like I was his lifeline. And in that embrace, under the dim lights of the place where it all began, I finally understood what love really meant. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it was ours. And it was enough. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.